Fauci received emails as early as March of 2020 showing that the Chinese were successfully using hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine to cure COVID. But because both of these drugs are readily available and inexpensive, Fauci chose, what do you think? The money. Next, Minnesota has changed their state flag to be more inclusive. The flag depicts the 8-pointed star of Islam. The people of Minnesota are literally outraged, but the committee is standing firm. Finally, Mexico elects its first female president. She's pro-gay, pro-trans, and she's Jewish. Here's a quick picture. During the election cycle, there were 37 candidates assassinated, making Mexico's election the bloodiest in modern history. All this and more today on Exposed, the Calo podcast. So after Trump was found guilty, the question being raised now is, what will his sentence be? Will he serve jail time? Will he get a suspended sentence? We're going to get to this in just a moment. But first, Christopher Wray back in the news. He says the FBI is seeking $11 billion in additional funds to allow for additional resources in counter-terrorism programs. You know, it's interesting that Biden, with one stroke of his pen, reversed nearly all of the Trump-era border policies, allowing for multiplied millions of people to cross our border, many of them without being checked whatsoever. And now, the FBI is looking for more money so they can protect America against the people that they let in the country purposely. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Was this all a part of the fix? You better believe it. The fix was in right from the very beginning. Why? To be able to increase the number of people in government. See, the whole idea behind Biden and the left wing's agenda is to increase the size of the federal government. Not necessarily the executive branch, but I'm talking about the bureaucracy, because it's the bureaucracy and it's the people in the bureaucracy that are running the government. They are there, and they are there through multiple generations of elected officials. It's just another way for the state to grow bigger and bigger, all the while endangering you and me, the American people. We're pretty much the unwilling pawns in the deep state's desire to reduce America to a third world nation. And speaking of nations being knocked down from power, England was once the center of power and prestige in the world. But look what happened. Here's a quick video clip.
President Donald Trump of the United States and every American who's watching this. Your election in November is far bigger than your country, okay? Donald Trump is needed in this world to bring back peace. His leadership is needed to save the West. All of our countries are being flooded. They are destroying our cultures. They're bringing us down. It's an attack on the West. There's only one person who's stop it. You have the opportunity in November.
There's only one path forward, folks, and that is to elect Donald Trump as president in 2024. All this is important to note because England has paid a very steep price for embracing Islam. And we in America have no idea of the dangers that Islam and what Islam poses to the American culture. And listen, speaking about being flooded, in a state with only 1% Muslim population, we're seeing the power of this small minority. We're seeing how much power they actually wield due to the progressive left's embracing this dangerous religious idea. The title, American Muslim or Muslim American, pretty much is an oxymoron. Allow me to prove my point to you today. First, a Muslim is someone who submits or gives allegiance to Allah first, who is Satan, actually, to Muhammad second, third to the Muslim nation, fourth to the Muslim country that he or she is from originally or their family is from, and fifth to the Muslim neighboring country that they may be friends with. So when you look at that in context, what does it mean to be an American? Well, as an American, we are people who give allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Constitution of the United States. And everything and anything that has any ties to the way of life in America. Now, the Muslims, in order to be a Muslim, they need to embrace Sharia. Okay, it's not called Sharia law, by the way. That would be a double negative. Okay, it's Sharia, which is Islamic law. At the same time, how is it possible for people who embrace Sharia to embrace the Constitution of the United States? It's impossible. That's the answer. So the more you know about Allah, Muhammad, and the way of life for the Islam people, the more you'll see that it's impossible for a Muslim to come to this nation and live as an American citizen. I'll give you a quick example. In America, one of the greatest freedoms, one of the greatest rights that we embrace is the right to religious freedom, right? First Amendment. This means a person can believe or not believe in any particular religion that they choose. It could be Christian, could be Muslim, could be, Hindu. It doesn't matter. Buddhist, agnostic. You cannot have any religion. Really doesn't matter. You could be a Satan worshiper for all it matters. The Constitution guarantees your right to freedom of religion, period. So we enjoy that freedom. Amen? A person does not have to follow the religion of their parents. Okay? We could choose as we grow up and become adults, we could choose to walk away from the religion of our parents, of our family, and our children could choose to do the same. Now let's contrast that to freedom of religion in Islam. Okay, now there is no country called Islam. Islam is a religion. And wherever the Islams begin, wherever people of the Islam nation, Islam religion, decide to call their own country, like England, they get there and they begin to make inroads into the country. And so then Islam becomes their main focus and purpose. So when a Muslim when a Muslim man impregnates a woman, whether it's his wife, whether it's not, whether she's a Christian, whether she's another Muslim, doesn't matter whether she's a Jew, any female that he impregnates, even if it's through rape, the baby that's born out of that pregnancy must be Muslim, period. The baby is born a Muslim, lives as a Muslim, and will die as a Muslim. Now, what happens if the baby grows up and decides to leave Islam? Let me tell you what happens. If they decide to become like a Jew or a Christian or any other religion, or even no religion at all, the Muslim father or the Muslim community must kill that person after giving them 3 days to renounce this new belief or lack of belief in Islam. This is one of the many reasons we hear about honor killings. That's where it comes from. So to be an American and to be a Muslim is an impossibility. It's just impossible. It cannot work. With that, why do we have states with a 1% Muslim population changing their flags to represent Islam? That's what's happening right now. Let's go to cut one and look at this.
I want to go to Jackie Tarboroff real quickly. Jackie, something happened on Saturday. It's an absolute disgrace to this country. Tell me why is an Islamic flag flying, an 8-pointed star Islamic flag flying over the state capital of one of our greatest states, the great state of Minnesota?
So 13 people were appointed to a flag committee. They were appointed, not elected, and they had 2,000 flag design submissions. There were 6 finalists. 5 had an 8-point Islamic star. That is statistically impossible.
Yes.
And they decided to raise this Islamic flag. They told Marine and Deputy Chief of the Minnesota GOP, Donna Bergstrom, that it was to reflect the new immigrants who are Somali Muslim. By the way, there are 5.9 million people in Minnesota. 80% of them are white Christian. There is 1% of the population in Minnesota that is Muslim, and this is what's happening.
This is what's happening. How do you get 13 people appointed? Well, it's very simple. The governor of the state decides she's going to appoint 13 people in order to look into the new designs of a flag. What are the chances that these 13 people, 5 of the 13 come up with an 8-pointed star of some, sort or other? It's statistically impossible, like she says. See, these people are seeded into that committee. In other words, the governor knew who she wanted to be on the committee, and she knew what the outcome She knows the outcome that she wanted. And so therefore, she got the outcome that she wanted, which was a flag denoting Islam. Let's go to cut 2.
Throughout America, cities and states are adopting this 8-point Islamic star. In Minnesota, they have literally replaced the Irish, British, German, Scandinavian Christians and the Native Americans that were on the flag since 1858.
Imagine all those Americans that were on the flag since 1858 now being replaced by a flag denoting Islam, and they're less than 1% of the population, and they're from Somalia, of all places. This is unacceptable. Last cut.
Pure Democrat in Minnesota. All 3 of the branches, it's pure Democrat. And they did fight back, the Republicans. In fact, they brought it to the legislature, and the 13 appointees said, nope, we're deciding, we're not even bringing it to the people. There will be no referendum, and it's not going on the back of a ballot.
Now, that's the actual flag right there that's coming. The others were depictions of different flags that they were looking to choose. All of them are ugly, and that one especially. But here's the key. See, they're all Democrats. Minnesota is basically 90% Democrats, so they get whatever it is that they want. The traditional 5-pointed American star is being erased and replaced with the 8-point Islamic symbol. My opinion, that's a threat to national security. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's almost like a cultural coup d'etat. They're trying to take over the culture of America and insert their own, just like they've done in England. Minnesota will become the first state displaying anything but the 5-pointed stars that we treasure in our American heritage. 8-pointed stars have a meaning in Islamic culture, tracing its importance all the way back to the Babylonian culture. Yeah, just what we want in America. We want to be supporting Babylonian culture. It's one of the most prominent, the 8-pointed star is one of the most prominent symbols in Islam. It appears on flags, Iranian military intelligence flag, city of Tehran, which is the capital of Iran, the Islamic nation of Azerbaijan, the states of the Turkish states, traditional flag of the Ottoman Empire. This is absolutely nonsense. And here we have a state in America going to be having a flag denoting Islam. On top of that, one of the most important and significant iconic buildings in the world is located in Israel. Here's a picture of it. It's called the Dome of the Rock. I've been there. I've been right there outside that door right there, walking across the ground. In fact, after you walk across the ground, being a Christian, not a Muslim, after you walk across the ground there, before 3 p.m., you're allowed to walk. At 3 p.m., they wash down the sidewalks where the infidels walked. That's right. Guys are out there with a hose washing it down because we're dirty. We're filthy. And we want to be able to use the 8-sided building, the 8-sided star, as one of our symbols, the state in America? No, I don't think that's good. But this is happening all across the country, not just in Minnesota. They tried it in Utah, but there was a huge backlash and they backed off. There was a big outcry in Utah. And a lot of it, I think, was due to the Mormon church, which is, in Utah. So kudos to them for standing up against this kind of thing. But a lot of cities are already on the bandwagon. Kansas, Hutchinson, Kansas, Aberdeen, South Dakota, Kent, Ohio, Norman, Oklahoma, Wheeling, West Virginia, Springfield, Missouri, Reno, Nevada, Pocatello, Idaho. Where the heck is that? They're also proposing 8-pointed star flags in Albany, New York, Evansville, Indiana, Lowell, Massachusetts, Seattle, Washington, which it doesn't surprise me at all, Toledo, Ohio, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Are you kidding me? And Washington State. Again, no surprise there. What's the probability that all these states end up with an 8-pointed Islamic symbol? Ridiculous. This is a plan. This is a plan of the left. They're trying to destroy our culture. And what do you think is next? The American flag. They want to be able to get rid of the American flag. To me, it's planned destruction of our culture. As to who's behind this, well, all we need to do is just look at the party that's fighting for this stuff. Let's see. Republican Party? Nope. Independent? Nope. Green Party? Nope. Democrat Party. Yes. What do you know? They're the ones behind it. Another great reason we need to vote 2024 Donald J. Trump in November. It might just be our last stand as America. Speaking of planned destruction, hydroxychloroquine back in the news. Newly released documentation from the committee investigating Fauci and the whole COVID scam proves that Fauci was informed that hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine were being effectively used to treat COVID-19 in China as early as March 16th of 2020. Are you kidding me? Now, this letter is absolute proof. When you read through this, what you find is this is a letter, okay, that he received from someone in the know. Treatment for coronavirus, okay, this is where? In China. And it goes to, look, we ought to, implement this. We ought to let people know that they should, use hydroxychloroquine because it's cheap and inexpensive and readily available. What do we hear about that? Nothing at all. Dr. Fauci knew way back in 2005 that chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine was a wonder drug for SARS-CoV infections. Despite this, he demonized this drug falsely, and he said it was ineffective. He even used the fake and retracted HCQ Lancet study to push the lie. It's up to us, folks. We have to demand that the truth be told to all of us, because many of us lost people we loved ones in our families, loved ones that we care about in our families and our jobs. Many people died. Why? Because Fauci lied. And somebody needs to pay the price. Speaking about that, paying the price, Trump said if he's elected, he would declassify the Epstein and JFK files so that the truth would be known. Oh my God. Sometimes I wonder, Donald, I love you, but wow, man, you're putting yourself right out there in the open. The deep state will do anything to protect their covert decisions over the past centuries. We need to pray for Donald Trump's protection. And speaking of newly elected, welcome the new president of Mexico. Here she is, Claudia Sheinbaum. She was elected the country's first female president after a very bloody election cycle that saw 37 candidates. That's right, 37 candidates assassinated. Mexico's election is now the bloodiest in modern history since a recent local office, a person running for a local office in the Puebla state was murdered at a political rally, taking the number of assassinated to the number of 37. It's almost unbelievable. It boggles the mind. How could 37 people be assassinated? Well, here we are in America. I don't think that would be possible in America. Do you? No, I don't. Who knows? What is possible in America these days? However, this woman, Claudia Sheinbaum, she's a scientist. She's a political leader. She self-identifies as a feminist. And these qualifications make her a potential irritant to Donald J. Trump. So I'm sure 2025 is going to be an exciting year. Speaking of challenges, the Supreme Court rules 9-0 in favor of the NRA. That's right, the National Rifle Association. Oh man, the left is pulling their hair out right now. They gave a major victory to the largest gun rights group in America. And this all stems from Governor Cuomo and his top Department of Financial Services person. Her name is Maria Vullo. They began pressuring companies into no longer doing business with the NRA. Plus, she leveraged her regulatory power over banks and insurance companies to coerce them into denying basic financial services to the NRA. And in her own words, Ms. Vullo's, quote, also other gun promotion groups. In other words, she wanted to stifle their ability to be able to buy, lend, or borrow, or be able to get insurance. All these things, she was trying to cut them off, claiming openly, verbally, right out in the open, that she was going to penalize anybody who would support the NRA. So the NRA rightfully challenged Vullo, alleging that she made good on her threats by issuing formal guidance to every bank and every insurance company in New York, urging them to sever ties with the NRA. Can you imagine being so bold as to actually putting in writing those particular words? Yep, that's right. This is what we're going to do. And if you follow our lead, we're going to give lenience to you in all the other areas of business that you do. So they were trying to pressure banks and insurance companies into not doing business with the NRA. If you stop doing business with the NRA, hey, we're going to take good care of you. That's a classic Stalinist move to control and ultimately destroy businesses that they don't like. Speaking of threats, because that's what that is, does this cop look threatening to you? I don't know. At first glance, I can't tell. And I'm just being honest. I don't know if that's a man or a woman. I just don't know. I'd like to think it's a man. I don't know. But even at second and third glance, I was unsure. But the one thing I'm sure of, when I blew up that little patch on that person's arm, well, now that I look closely, it might be a little shadow there. So, yeah, I guess that's a guy. But I blew up that patch on the arm. This is New York City, folks. That's right, New York City. But one thing is for sure, this person won't be chasing any criminals today. I think they've been drinking this special drink.
It is the viral Starbucks order that has some baristas exhausted just looking at the list. A caramel frappuccino with 13 add-ons, including 5 bananas and all kinds of extra cream and sugar.
It's called the Fat Cops Special. That's what this drink is called. And since we know this cop won't be chasing any criminals after drinking this kind of drink, it's too bad that the DA and the New York officials aren't prosecuting real criminals, but instead they're doing all that they can to lock up our president, Donald J. Trump. Here's a picture of the judge, in case you're unaware of what he looks like. This is the judge that's been putting Trump through all of the difficulties in New York City. Alan Dershowitz predicted that New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan, that's the judge, would try to send a very strong message when sentencing former President Donald Trump coming up in July 11th. The judge likely won't have President Trump just pay a fine, but he probably will come up with a way to issue a sentence that won't be a basis for reversal. And what I mean by that is, he wants to be able to issue a sentence that is in line with the sham trial that he put on. One thing that Dershowitz did say is that I think the very likely outcome would be the judge sentences him to a number of years in prison, like 2 or 3 years, but then suspend the sentence. That's a possibility. But I don't know if these crazies have gone that far to get a suspended sentence. Another option that the judge could use would be to sentence President Trump to several years in prison and then order him to surrender after the election is over, regardless of whether he's elected or not. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but they could do that. Another option would be President Trump receiving a probation sentence for 5 years, making him the first president to serve in office under probation. Now, house arrest is also a possibility, but kind of unlikely, I think. And the last option would be a conditional sentence that would allow the judge not to sentence President Trump on the condition that he carries out certain actions. I don't know what those actions could be. We just don't know. So we don't know what the court's going to do in relation to President Donald Trump's sentencing. But here's my prediction. My prediction is they're going to try to lock him up. Probably try to lock him up on that day, the exact day, on the 11th. I think Donald Trump better come prepared to be taken off to prison. I don't know what will happen if that does happen. No one knows because it's uncharted territory. Very possibly the Supreme Court, in advance of the 11th, could send an introductory letter to the judge letting them know that they'll be willing to, step in should the situation warrant. I don't know. But what we do know is this. They're trying to get the base, that's you and I, all excited so that we protest or worse. In other words, remember January 6th? We know President Trump didn't incite any riot, an insurrection. We know that didn't happen now, and there's proof of it. All the video evidence that's come out, over 40,000 hours of video. We know that that's not what actually happened. But they set up a narrative, and they allowed that narrative to play out. So we need to do one thing, and that is remain calm. It's okay to go out if you want to, hold up some signs and pick it up, but we need to remain calm. We need to not get in positions where we can incite riots or have things happen that could lead to the arrest of people who are on the side of righteousness and right justice here in America. Our best revenge is to inundate the election on November 5th. I mean, so much so that the victory is epic. Statistics show that the Democrats have been able to steal about 4 to 5% of the vote. That's about what the number is, about 4 to 5%. So we need to defeat Biden or his surrogate, whoever that might be, by at least 6%. And then we're guaranteed an epic win, because the left is only able to steal about 5% of the vote. So this is our job today, folks, is to tell our family, to tell our friends, to tell our neighbors, to get ready to vote. Be prepared to vote. Absentee vote if you have to, but be prepared to vote. And on that day, take someone to the polls with you. Maybe you got neighbors or friends or retired older folks who haven't voted in many years. Let's get them to the poll. Drag them if you have to, but let's get them to the poll. Let's have an honest election, and let's see this country turn around. We need it more than anything I can think of. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.